welcome back to Bombastic Nation and Ting and Ting and Ting. Back with some more vibes for all you. Yes, And all around the world there's mysterious, legends and stuff like that, For every culture there is, you know what I mean? And I like watching them things, I like knowing how people thought, why those things come up, what they are, and all of that. What we're going to be looking at here is called Most Mysterious South American Legends. Most mysterious South American legends. You know what I mean? And places where there's parts of the landmass that is not explored. Can you imagine the amount of legends and stuff with all the tribes and stuff in South America that have come up over the years? I tell you what, let's go ahead and YouTube and simmer and see what they're saying on here.
Hi, it's Katrina. To one man's lifelong punishment as a disfigured alligator, to monsters disguised as alluring seductresses, here are 8 famous legends from Central and South America. Number 8. El Hombre Caimán. The legend of El Hombre Caimán, or the Alligator Man, developed in the coastal town of Plato Magdalena, located on the Colombian Caribbean coast. Before he became a monster, El Hombre Caimán was a fisherman named Saúl Montenegro. He was a womanizer and a peeping Tom who enjoyed spying on women while they bathed in the Magdalena River. Fearful that he would be seen lurking among the trees, Montenegro visited a sorcerer in Alta Guajira to acquire a special potion, which would temporarily turn him into an alligator, so he could watch the women without getting caught. He was given a red potion that would transform him into an alligator and a white potion that would turn him back into a man. Montenegro's plan worked for quite some time. He even had a friend who administered the white potion whenever he decided he was done staring at unsuspecting female bathers. This friend was unable to accompany Montenegro on one occasion, so another man agreed to fill in for him. When the substitute saw Montenegro as an alligator, he became alarmed and dropped the container of white potion, which shattered against a rock. A few drops of the potion splashed onto the alligator's head, and it resumed its human form. But the rest of the potion spilled, and Montenegro was trapped in his alligator body. His days as a peeping Tom were over. Women were terrified at the sight of El Hombre Caimán and stopped bathing in the river. Attempts to locate the sorcerer who had concocted the original potions were unsuccessful. Every night, Montenegro's devastated mother visited him at the riverside. She was the only woman to ever go near him again. Today, there's a monument to El Hombre Caimán in the town of Plato, and every December, the town hosts a festival in his honor. Number 7. El Bombero. El Bombero, also known as the Curahu Yara, or owner of the sun, is a character from Guarani mythology. Depictions of him vary slightly between communities, but he's typically described as a homely, small-statured, short-limbed humanoid creature. El Bombero has hairy feet that make him very stealthy, and he can become invisible at will. He lives mainly in the forests of rural areas, but sometimes takes up residence in an abandoned house. According to the legend, El Bombero can imitate birdsong and is seen as a protector of birds, especially from kids using slingshots. Rumor has it that he can make single women pregnant just by touching their bellies. He's also a troublemaker himself and is known to steal eggs and honey, set cattle loose, scare horses, and scatter provisions like corn and rice all over the place. To discourage the Bombero from mischief, it's recommended to leave out gifts of rum, cigar.
That man have all that power. Touch a woman's stomach, get her pregnant, and he's out there letting cows out and all that stuff.
And honey. Some versions of the story hold that if he receives gifts from the same person or family on a regular basis, El Bombero might even become friendly and protective of his benefactors. It's very hard to spot this elusive creature who can squeeze through narrow spaces and become invisible. The legend of this trickster is an important part of Guarani culture in northeast Argentina, Paraguay, and southern Brazil. And now for number 6. But first, be sure to share any legends and ghost stories from Central and South America in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. And be sure to click that subscribe button before you leave. We'd love to have you. Number 6. La Viudita. The legend of La Viudita, or the Black Widow, is popular throughout Latin America. According to the story, she's an alluring woman who takes to the streets after midnight, dressed in black from head to toe and wearing a veil. She targets drunk men with the goal of taking them to her home or another private setting. Once the Black Widow is alone with her victim, she removes her veil to reveal a skull with no face or hair and begins laughing in a maddening, hair-raising.
That kind of sounds like either a Laja Bliss or a Mama Melody from my island. the skull head and everything like that, and the seduction of young men. That sounds like the Laja Bless.
Tone. The terrifying sight and sound usually causes her victims to faint. When they regain consciousness in the morning, they are usually covered in thistles or lying in a stinking puddle. This legend is widespread and contains few variations between regions. In the past, it was told to children as a moral story to persuade them to obey Catholic principles. There are a few different stories concerning the Black Widow's origins. One version holds that she made a pact with the devil after her husband was unfaithful to her. Another claims that she's a lost soul who died of angst after losing the love of her life. Number 5. El Sombreron. The legend of El Sombreron supposedly began with a real villager who dressed completely in black and rode a stern-faced horse. He was short and wore a large hat, as well as boots that made a lot of noise when he walked. This well-dressed man kept to himself and didn't bother anyone. When he died, however, his spirit terrorized those who caused him mischief in the streets, such as gamblers, drunks, fighters, and cheaters. He travels with a pack of mules and is sometimes accompanied by 2 ferocious black dogs and chases his targets through lonely moonlit areas. El Sombreron also goes by the names Chipitillo, Titimite, and the Goblin. In addition to wreaking havoc on moral offenders, he enjoys braiding the hair of horses and dogs, and he enjoys courting attractive young women with long hair and large eyes. When he's particularly attracted to a woman, he shows it by braiding her hair, serenading her, and feeding her soil, which somehow causes her to have insomnia. Number 4.
You have noticed that a lot of these characters have something to do with being able to seduce women and get them to do what they want. Come on, can I have some of that, bro? Can I have some of that vibe and thing, seduce women, get them to love you and all that kind of stuff. It's funny how people make up stuff, you know what I mean? And there's people in the village, they might find a womanizer and go, he's one of those people, you know what I mean? He's one of those characters, and he would be living that mysterious life. When I was growing up, there was always one old dude that tried to act like a ligaroo, which is like a werewolf in my culture. Always trying to act like they're scaring kids, you know what I mean? Or some crazy lady. There was a crazy lady, we used to call her Crazy Lucy. She'd stand at her door with a broom and shake it at us when we were walking by as kids, and we would run past her house and stuff like that. There's always people who try to live those characters, those urban legends. There's always people who try to live them.
Tunda. The myth of La Tunda is told throughout the Pacific coastal region of Colombia and Ecuador and is particularly popular in the Afro-American community from Choco. La Tunda is the daughter of the devil who had children with the beautiful escaped slave of a Spanish merchant ship that ran aground on the northern coast of Ecuador during the 1530s. She is a shapeshifter who lures men into the forest, often taking on the appearance of a glamorous woman, because, sailors can't resist that. She also kidnaps children and can appear in the form of someone's loved one, such as a mother or an aunt. This makes it easier to convince kids to follow her into the woods. The shape-shifting skills of this entity are not foolproof. La Tunda is known to have a wooden leg in the shape of a kitchen utensil called a molinillo, which is used for stirring hot drinks such as cocoa. She's very skilled at disguising this defect, however, so those who are approached by her must be cautious to not be fooled. Number 3. Acalica and La Madremonte. Acalica, sometimes called weather fairies, are mythical creatures from Bolivia that are rarely seen. They live in underground caves and are rumored to be able to control the weather. When they appear, they take the form of small, wizened men. Unlike some of the other creatures on here, Acalica are not very ferocious. They avoid crossing paths with humans by staying away from their territory. However, Acalica will punish someone who tries to interfere with their weather-controlling activities. The Acalica is similar in some ways to Colombia's Madremonte. Unlike the Acalica, who appear as small men during rare encounters with humans, La Madremonte is an elegant, stout woman dressed in moss, leaves, and a green hat. Her attire conceals her face. Like the Acalica, she has powers that affect the weather. By bathing in rivers, she causes huge storms. Madremonte also punishes those who interfere with the weather and people who misbehave, including vagabonds and unfaithful spouses, by creating obstructions in their paths through the woods, ultimately causing them to tire and fall asleep. Number 2. La Cegua. This witch from Costa Rica roams empty streets and alleys of Cartago, the country's original capital, looking for men who like to party. She's of mixed Indian and Spanish blood and is known for her breathtaking features, including her dark eyes, long black hair, and fair skin. To snag her victim, the seductress will ask him for a ride. As he turns his head to admire her beauty, he instead sees a demonic creature with bright red eyes and the head of a horse. One version of this legend holds that before she became La Segua, the beautiful woman's heart was broken by a Spanish officer. While the details of exactly how he broke her heart are unclear, it involved deceit and improper sexual advances, which for someone from a good Catholic family was wildly inappropriate at the time. After her lover disappeared, the woman went insane and fell under a curse that turned her into a monster, doomed to an eternity of wandering lonely roads. Like many legends, this story was used as a cautionary tale to dissuade women from so-called immoral behavior and to discourage men from straying from family life and engaging in debauchery. Did it work? Are you scared yet? Number 1. La Llorona. The Mexican legend of La Llorona is similar to that of La Novia de Tola, which is told in Nicaragua, and La Sayona, which is popular in Venezuela. According to some, it's one of the spookiest and scariest ghost stories ever. It starts with a beautiful woman named Maria who was cheated on by her husband when he lost interest in her. To spite her estranged lover, she killed their 2 children. In one version of the story, Maria's husband leaves her for another woman, and along with harming her children, she decides she can no longer go on living. Maria is unable to transition to the afterlife until she finds her 2 children, however, and forevermore took to the streets calling out their names. Many people claim to hear her, especially in the evening, crying, sobbing, and calling out for her children. In another version of the legend, Maria marries a ranchero and has 2 children with him. He becomes bored of the family lifestyle and goes back to his ranchero ways, returning only to visit the children. After catching him with another woman, Maria destroys their children to get revenge on them. She can't live with her actions, however, and is found passed away next to a river the next day. Her ghost can be heard crying as she searches for her children along the riverside. The Nicaraguan version of the story is about a woman named Hilaria Ruiz, who has plans to marry an attractive playboy named Salvador Cruz. Salvador stops at his lover Juana's house before the wedding. Juana gets him so drunk he misses the event. An inconsolable Hilaria became a scorned ghost named La Novia de Tola, who waits indefinitely for the return of her lover. Other people have seen La Sayona, who wears a white dress and haunts men who cheat on their partners. She's sometimes seen crying with a baby in her arms. Thanks for watching, and sweet dreams! Is that crying you hear?
There's something, I talked about the Mama Melody here earlier, and one of the things that they say she does is cries in the night. So I remember as a kid laying in bed, if somebody walked by crying, and think, ooh, Mama Melody. Check to make sure the windows are closed, nobody could come in and stuff like that, you know. But anyway, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the notification button so you know when I'm putting out videos. I will leave a link in the description to this video so you can go check it out and check out others that's on there. And also drop some likes on there for a brethren, alright? Now, take care of each other, alright? Show some compassion. Show some respect to strangers you go along. Make everything cool.